Tough loss for the Spurs tonight on the first leg of the Rodeo Road Trip. The Spurs fall in Cleveland 105-92. This is Spurs React. I'm Chris Duel. Michael Bartlett working with Bill Schoening. We're going to come back on post-game here in a moment. Bill's going to come back and then throw to me here in a moment. So we'll hear from Bill here.
The final from Cleveland, 105-92, as the Spurs shoot 38% from the field. The fewest points the Spurs have scored since November 18th, when they only managed 90 points in a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They scored 92 tonight and fall 105-92. That game against Chicago.
Hello, Michelle.
Monday, February 14th, and the Oklahoma City game will be a Wednesday, the 16th. So again, the next three, Whataburger, what's next? At Atlanta, Friday, 6:30. At New Orleans, Saturday, 6 o'clock. And Monday at Chicago, and that game is a 7 o'clock start.
Patrick Burns, how are you?
Take on the Bulls. The final score, 105-92, Cleveland over San Antonio. Let's throw it now to our man at Spurs Radio Net Center, Chris Duel.
Thank you so much, Bill. There were 6 other games on the schedule tonight in the NBA, and a number of them are underway. Let's take a look at the NBA scoreboard. The Chicago Bulls, with 26.5 seconds remaining in the third quarter, Bulls lead the Hornets 86-76. Game 1 of an ESPN doubleheader tonight in Oklahoma City. The Toronto Raptors. Check that. The Bulls game was the game 1 of that ESPN doubleheader. I'll tell you what the second game is coming up in a second. In Oklahoma City, the Toronto Raptors are leading the Thunder 69-58. That is midway third quarter. All right, your second game of the ESPN doubleheader a little bit later this evening out west. The Utah Jazz will host the Golden State Warriors. Also tonight out west, the Portland Trail Blazers hosting the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Sacramento Kings hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Programming note on the flagship station, Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI. Our Spurs React is coming right up, where we will react with you to this first game of the Rodeo Road Trip as the Cleveland Cavaliers defeat the Spurs 105-92. Quick wrap-up coming from Bill Schoening. Then Spurs React coming your way. Spurs Radio continues in a moment.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savannah. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought.
Michelle Johnson, welcome in.
And now Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah.
I think Michelle was the first to get in. Patrick Burns. Hello, Patrick. David Valles pointing out that the Cleveland Cavaliers are good. Yes, they are. Spurs got this to 7 points with 7:33 to play, and then the Cavs pulled away. Christopher Summers, an interesting position, saying every loss is good for the Spurs, says Christopher. Joe Garcia from either Pueblo, Colorado, or Colorado Springs. How does that work, Joe? You live in Colorado Springs, but you work in Pueblo, I think. I got to get my Colorado cities straight. Leland Bruce. Leland says, good evening. Spurs fall. Rodeo Road Trip. Atlanta is next. That is correct. Frustrating start for the Spurs. I would agree with that. Cavs have won 7 in a row at home. That is also correct. Yes, sir.
But can you just give me the ID for affiliates real quick, just since we're close to the
Okay,
bottom.
so ID and then I tossed a bill?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
I'll bet you like normal.
Okay, Joe lives in Pueblo and teaches in Colorado Springs. All right, I had it backwards. Here we go. From the Spurs Net Center, I'm Chris Duel. Right now, let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Spurs radio network.
News Radio 1200 WOAI, San Antonio's breaking news, traffic, and weather.
And let's go back to Bill Schoening at the iHeartMedia headquarters.
That sounds weird.
That's what he called it at the beginning.
No,
Yeah, I'm using his term.
And let's throw it to Bill Schoening, who's down the hall.
State Farm Arena. That game will tip at 6:30. We'll be on the air at 6 o'clock with Spurs Radio Game Night. That game televised by our friends at Valley Sports. As always, for all things Spurs.
Okay, man, going 5.
Spurs.com
Okay, bud.
Or the Spurs app. Our studio producer is Mike Bartlett. Our studio host is Chris Duel. This is Bill Schoening. Thank you for joining us this evening. The final score from Cleveland, 105-92, the Cavs over the Spurs. This has been a presentation of Spurs Sports and Entertainment and the National Basketball Association. All rights reserved. Good night, everybody.
Spurs.
All right. So, game one of the Rodeo Road Trip. We're going to go live on React on the radio here in a second. 0-1. I'm hoping for like a 4-4, which would be nice. Because if you look at the Spurs road record, it is now 9-17. So if the Spurs could go 4-4 on this Rodeo Road Trip, go 500, that would be something to hang their hats on. That would be a better percentage than they've been playing on the road. That would be improvement with newly minted all-star guard DeJounte Murray.
From preventive cancer screenings to proper control of diabetes, high blood pressure, and behavioral health management, to prenatal care and child immunization.
So coming up for the Spurs, and I'll go over this again here when we're on the air. Next two games for the Spurs will be a back-to-back, which is never fun. At Atlanta Friday night and at the New Orleans Pelicans on Saturday night. There was a trade today that went through. The Spurs made it official tonight. I'll get into that. Here we go.
On the home of the Spurs, Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI.
From the Spurs Net Center, I'm Chris Duel. Spurs fall in the opener of the Rodeo Road Trip in Cleveland. The Cavaliers win this one 105-92. Spurs will regroup, try again on Friday night at Atlanta. In fact, Friday and Saturday night will be a back-to-back, which is always a little bit of a challenge in the NBA, but the Spurs play the games in front of them, and they will hopefully take care of business in one or both of those games. Friday night at Atlanta, that's a 6:30 start. Spurs radio game night with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. That'll be at 6 o'clock on Friday night, and everything is 30 minutes earlier than that on Saturday night, as the Spurs will be at New Orleans on Saturday night. Cleveland Cavaliers with this win, that is their 7th in a row at home. Cavaliers playing very, very well this season, as we've talked about, and we talked about with Bill in the pregame. With the loss, the Spurs overall record now drops to 20-35. They are now 9-17 on the road. And as we mentioned, 0-1 on this Rodeo Road Trip. Cavaliers will now go 13 games above 500 at 34-21. And they are now 18-9 at home and have won 7 in a row at home. Looking at some of the numbers for the Spurs, and this was a game that was in the fourth quarter. I mean, you look at that margin of victory for the Cavaliers at 105-92. And so, a 13-point margin of victory. This was single digits, close to midway fourth quarter. The Spurs cut it to 7 at 90-83 with 7:33 to go in regulation. And it looked like the Spurs were certainly going to fight hard to the end, and they did fight hard to the end, but the Cavaliers just were able to hit some key shots down the stretch. Spurs missed a couple of key shots down the stretch. That enabled the Cavs to build back to a double-digit lead in this game and cruise to this victory over the Spurs, 105-92. As Bill mentioned, one of the problems for the Spurs tonight was three-point shooting. Spurs were 8 of 33 from the field. That is 24.2%. That's not going to cut it, especially when the Cavs were shooting decently tonight from three-point country. Cavs were 9 of 21, which is 43% for the Cavs. So, I mean, overall, Cavs just hit one more three-point shot than the Spurs did, but the Cavs took a lot less attempts from three, 21 attempts, and they hit 9, as I mentioned. Spurs, 33 attempts from three-point country, and they managed 8 of those for 24%. Looking at some of the numbers for the Spurs, looking at the Spurs in double figures, Keldon Johnson leading the Spurs in scoring, along with Devin Vassell. Both of those Spurs had 18 points. Of course, Keldon Johnson, one of the starters tonight. Keldon Johnson got his 18 points in 33 minutes, 7 of 21 from the field. Not exactly his best shooting night. 3 of 9 from three-point country, 33%. So Keldon Johnson shooting better than the team did overall from three-point country. Keldon Johnson also 7 rebounds, 18 and 7. Some nice numbers there for Keldon Johnson. Derek White had 17 points in his 32 minutes. He was 6 of 13 from the field. Derek White 2 of 5 from three-point land for Derek White. DeJounte Murray, the newly minted NBA All-Star, had 16 points in his 34 minutes. He also had 6 rebounds, 9 assists for DeJounte tonight. So those are your Spurs in double figures. By the way, it was made official tonight. There was word of a trade in the NBA. It's never official until the Spurs make it official. During the game tonight, the Spurs, with a press release announcing, and I'll read to you from the press release, the San Antonio Spurs announced that they have acquired guard Tomas Satoransky from Portland and a 2027 second-round pick from Utah in a 3-team deal with the Trailblazers and the Jazz. The Spurs send Juancho Hernangomez to Utah as part of the trade, which also sends Nikolai Alexander-Walker from the Blazers to the Jazz in exchange for Joe Ingles, Elijah Hughes, and a 2022 second-round draft pick. So Spurs fans now can get to know Tomas Satoransky. Looking at his numbers overall, he's a 6-year NBA veteran. He appeared in 32 games this season for the Pelicans, averaging 2.8 points, 2 rebounds, 2.4 assists. He was averaging 15 minutes a game. His career averages are 7 points per game, just under 3 rebounds, and 4 assists in his 365 career games. Spurs will try again on Friday night. As I mentioned, a back-to-back Friday night and Saturday night. Friday night at Atlanta, 6:30 tip-off, 6 o'clock pregame Spurs radio game night. Everything 30 minutes earlier than that. Saturday night at New Orleans, 6 o'clock tip, 5:30 pregame. For Bill Schoening, another outstanding call from Bill in his 21st year as the radio voice of the San Antonio Spurs. He was assisted by veteran statistician Walter Stoops, his on-site engineer Sam Walters, and the man who makes the entire broadcast go from beginning to end, Michael Bartlett. Michael usually joins us on Spurs React. He had some post-production duties. We'll try to grab Michael for Spurs React Friday night after the game at Atlanta. Once again, the final score, the Cleveland Cavaliers defeat the San Antonio Spurs 105-92. This has been Spurs React on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI. See you tomorrow morning on my show, 6 a.m. Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. See you in the morning.